Imagine waking up in ancient Rome. You're a respected citizen. You've done nothing wrong. But by nightfall, you're on trial for wearing the wrong color. By dawn, you're dead, executed by imperial decree. Why? Because the emperor passed a law. Yesterday, welcome to the Roman Empire, where bizarre laws didn't just control behavior, they defined life and death. Some were so strange, they sound like satire today, but they were deadly real. And they helped tear down the most powerful empire in human history. This is The Fall of Rome. Strange facts about history's most infamous laws, only on Bizarre Blips, where history gets weird. When we think of Rome, we picture grandeur, epic battles, marble palaces, Julius Caesar, gladiators. But what if I told you some of the laws that ruled this mighty empire were more absurd than anything you'd find in a Monty Python sketch? From outlawing certain foods to executing poets, Roman laws slowly spiraled from order into chaos, reflecting the deep cracks forming in the empire itself. Today, we're going to peel back the toga and reveal the legal madness that helped bring Rome to its knees. Rome didn't just use law, it worshipped it. The 12 Tables, Rome's earliest legal code, were literally engraved in stone and displayed publicly. Law was sacred, but over time, that obsession turned dark. Emperors began using laws not to protect people, but to control them. Justice turned into a weapon, and the legal system, once Rome's pride, became a tool of terror. Let's explore the laws that started sane and ended strange. You think modern fashion police are bad? In ancient Rome, wearing purple without imperial permission was punishable by death. That's right, your wardrobe could get you executed. The dye for purple came from sea snails and was so rare that only emperors could afford it. So naturally, they passed laws saying only they could wear it. Anyone else was a threat. Even the hint of violet could get you accused of treason. There are actual records of senators being stripped of rank and even beheaded for wearing a purple-trimmed toga. Power flex? Oh yeah. But it also reveals how paranoid Roman rulers had become. Let's say you're a Roman man, enjoying single life. No kids, no nagging in-laws. Sounds nice? Not in the eyes of Emperor Augustus. He passed the Lex Julia in 18 BCE to punish bachelors over 25 who refused to marry. Even worse, if you didn't have children, you could lose your inheritance. Why? Augustus believed Rome was in moral decay. He thought the only way to fix it was by forcing people into marriages. Some people faked families to keep property. Others married just for the tax break and divorced months later. Sound familiar? Next time you plan a party, be glad you're not Roman. Rome passed multiple anti-luxury laws, like the Lex Fania, limiting what food you could serve at dinner parties. There were actual inspectors who would count how many exotic birds, shellfish, and pastries you offered your guests. Too much wine and roast peacock? Boom, fine. Or worse. Did it work? Of course not. The rich held underground feasts or got around the law by labeling courses as religious offerings. Yes, Rome had food police, and somehow they still fell apart. In modern democracies, criticizing your government is a right. In ancient Rome, it was suicide. Under Emperor Tiberius, treason became anything. Writing a poem where a king is overthrown? Treason. Falling asleep and dreaming the emperor dies? Treason. Naming your dog Caesar? You guessed it, treason. Historians describe an atmosphere of constant fear. People were encouraged to spy on neighbors. Children reported parents. A single sarcastic joke could end your life. This is when Roman law became a mirror, reflecting the empire's descent into dictatorship. It didn't stop with bachelors. Roman laws tried to legislate morality across the board. There were laws that punished adultery, forced widows to remarry, and even fined women for being too independent. Emperors like Augustus claimed they were saving Roman virtue, but most historians agree it was really about control. These laws gave elites the power to shame, silence, and strip women and the lower classes of rights. It's like reality TV meets Orwell's 1984 with togas. As Rome aged, corruption wasn't illegal, it was legalized. Bribery became expected. Judges were for sale. Laws were so convoluted that no one understood them, except the people who wrote them. There were even laws that contradicted other laws, passed within the same year. By the 4th century CE, Rome had become a bureaucratic nightmare. It cost so much to run the legal system that officials started skipping trials altogether. Justice wasn't blind, she was missing. So what can we learn from these strange Roman laws? Laws reflect the soul of a civilization, and when those laws become bizarre, paranoid, and unjust, it's usually a sign of collapse. Rome didn't just fall because of invading armies. It fell because its laws turned into tools of fear. Its legal system collapsed under the weight of corruption, contradictions, and cruelty. The same system that once made Rome powerful eventually made it weak. Let's zoom in on the everyday Roman citizen. How did these laws affect people like merchants, farmers, or even slaves? A baker in Rome might be fined, or worse, for selling bread that didn't meet strict government standards. But the laws were often enforced inconsistently. A senator could bribe his way out of any offense, while a shopkeeper might be jailed for using the wrong weights. Slaves had no legal rights, and women's legal identities were often tied to their fathers or husbands. Even contracts for simple things like loans or land purchases could be nullified if someone in power decided so. This created a two-tier system, one where the law was a sword for the poor and a shield for the rich. Despite its madness, Roman law influenced nearly every legal system in the Western world. Terms like habeas corpus, subpoena, and contract law all trace their roots back to Rome. Even the idea of a senate or a republic owes something to Roman governance, flawed as it was. So while some laws were ridiculous, the foundations laid by Roman lawmakers still echo today in courtrooms, parliaments, and constitutions around the globe. Let's look at a few historical records that showcase how twisted Roman justice could be. One famous case involves a man named Cremutius Cordus. He was a historian who praised Brutus and Cassius. Yes, the men who assassinated Julius Caesar. For that, he was charged with treason and forced to take his own life. His books were ordered to be burned. Ironically, copies survive, and his name is remembered today, while his accusers are long forgotten. Another case tells of a Roman woman who was dragged into court for weeping too dramatically at her husband's funeral. She was accused of faking grief to gain sympathy and land rights. Yes, even emotions were on trial. And under Emperor Caligula, it said he made it illegal for anyone to look down on him from a balcony. One poor man forgot and was executed for it. In the Roman Empire, the absurd wasn't the exception. It was often the rule. What do these strange laws teach us? They show how fear can seep into the very bones of a nation. How leaders, desperate to hold on to power, will twist legislation to silence enemies, rewrite culture, and erase dissent. But they also show resilience. People resisted, found loopholes, hid books, passed down stories. Quiet defiance echoed in the streets of Rome long before its final fall. If you ever feel overwhelmed by bureaucracy, baffled by government, or enraged by injustice, just remember, the Romans were there first, and we're still learning from their mistakes. So the next time you hear someone say, "When in Rome," maybe ask, which law are we following today? This has been an epic journey into the legal labyrinth of the Roman Empire. Thank you for watching. If you want more strange slices of history, ancient absurdities, and real stories that feel like fiction, you're in the right place. Subscribe to Bizarre Blips for weekly dives into the weird, the wild, and the utterly unbelievable. Smash that like button. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What law would you pass if you were emperor for a day? And ring the bell so you don't miss our next historical mindbender. And most of all, stay bizarre.